we are going to invite any questions, comments from our panel or from each other about animal welfare or related issues. May I start with Tharanga by asking Tharanga, what do we mean by one welfare? Can you tell us very briefly about the concept of one welfare?
Yes. Santosha, the program is really interesting and I'm very touched by the different views of people. So to answer your question, actually we are now very familiar with the concept of one health. It recognizes that the health of people and health of animals and the environment is interconnected. And the aim of One Health is to actually to encourage different professionals, people from different disciplines to work together collaboratively to achieve the best or the optimum health of people, optimum health of animal, and the best for the environment or the entire planet. So it's really difficult to separate the welfare from health, as we know. And one welfare is an emerging concept or a term which is similar to One Health. One welfare looks at different issues from a broader or a holistic perspective. So we try to work nationally as well as globally. So the concept is not only referring to welfare of animals, but it includes the welfare of humans and mental health, physical health and welfare as well, societal mental health, as well as the environmental conservation. So with the main focus here is welfare in humans as well as in animals. So today in this program, actually, what we discussed are different aspects of welfare, human welfare, animal welfare, and the interactions and how each one of us impact each other when we try to live together in this planet.
Thank you, Tharanga, for your comments and for clarifying the concept of one welfare. Are there any questions from for the panel from the audience here at Humanitas today? In the absence of any questions, may I now invite Professor Panduka Karunanayake, the chairperson of the Humanities Society and Professionalism stream, for some conclusion remarks before we go to the final item of Humanitas program today.
Thank you very much, Santosha, for yet another wonderful meeting today, session today on Humanitas. I think probably it has been a lot more touching than the previous two ones because it's about animals, which we all love. So when I was watching this program, I was thinking back or reflecting on how my views about animals changed over the years. So I remember reading a concept called specicism by an ethicist called Peter Singer, where he brought out a very interesting idea. He said that human beings, men and women, have been, at first they've been sexist. They've been promoting the interest of one sex over the other, like males over the females and male chauvinism and so on. And then it went over to racism, where people thought that my race is the most important race. And then nationalism, my country is the most important country, and so on. So Peter Singer was saying that we seem to have gone beyond those stages to be more humanist, as human beings as one family. But now we are in a stage called speciesism. Like racism, our species is the most important race, species. So Peter Singer was telling way back in the 1960s, let's come out of speciesism and think of all animals as equally important species, like coming out of racism and thinking of all races as equally important races. So that really made me think at that time. But then something that happened, I think about a year or so ago, was when Tharanga was speaking to me and said something very interesting. She said, we should tell our students the important role that animals have played in human health. So we think of animals as people who create human problems like rabies and snake bite and so on. But she was asking us to think about the contribution to human health. For example, what happens in the animal house during animal experiments. So that's the second stage where I thought, not only are they just although we think of them as separate, not only are they part of the same biosphere, they're also actually helping us. Therefore, there are, of course, situations where they cause human harm as well, because there are zoonoses, there's rabies, and so on. And as doctors, we are supposed to study them particularly. And the third stage is probably this program, where I now realize that not only should we think about the contribution they make to our health, we should also realize that they make us happy. When we saw those rabbits and those animals and our pets, they're actually part of our happiness, and not just our healthcare products, but also our happiness and well-being and wellness. So looks like this program has certainly brought a change in my mind about animals. And I was just feeling very sad that we call this act sacrifice. When we keep an animal in the animal house and then we kill the animal, rather than say we kill the animal, we say we sacrifice the animal. It's like sort of quietly hiding the fact that we are killing by giving a nice term, like a euphemism. It's just sacrifice. So maybe we should just call it killing, because that's what it is. We are just sort of using a euphemism to cover our own guilt, perhaps. One of our speakers today, Chamari, you asked her a very important question: why it took 100 years to change the law. I think it has to do with the fact that Peter Singer's probably started this off in the 60s with that question of speciesism. So for about 60 years of that 100 years, people didn't even think about animal cruelty as cruelty. Just we thought that we can just exploit them as we want. So the change started probably around the 60s or 70s. So in 40 years, we've come some distance, I suppose, at least even in Sri Lanka. And then another thing that I thought when I was listening to Udesh, he was talking about other philosophies like the Eastern philosophies and South Indian philosophy, South Asian philosophies, and so on. Many of these concepts that we now use are like coming out of that speciesism idea, but they have been, we in our part of the world traditionally have been treating our fauna and flora as an integrated system or network to which we all belong. Not as if we are the masters of nature, but rather we are just part of nature. And looks like Western textbooks are reminding us that now. We are rediscovering what we already knew because we are coming out of that. So, so these are the things that just went through my mind. Thank you very much, Santosha, for putting together that wonderful program. And thank you very much for our resource persons who joined us today from outside. Thank you for your time. And thank you for sharing your views and experiences with us and your perspectives with us. They certainly help to form a different view about animals. I don't just think of them as another species now. I think of them not only as people who contribute to our health, but actually as animals who contribute to our wellness and well-being as well, to our happiness as well. And I also feel very sad about the sacrifice that then we have to do, but we are doing. And let us try to find a different way of thinking, maybe drawing from our own older traditions from this part of the world. So thank you so much for all of them. And also thank you very much for the students who took part in our program today. That was wonderful to see you sharing your love for this subject. And that was perhaps to me the most important discovery today, that there are students amongst us, amongst them, are students who actually have gone one step further than us, even before we knew that. Today I understood that they're actually more advanced in these aspects than even we were, or even I was. So thank you very much for giving me some time to share those thoughts, and well done. Back to you, Santosh.
Thanks, sir. Professor Sarojaya Singha has asked a question: how is it that Sri Lanka, being a predominantly Buddhist country that is against speciesism, is based on kindness to all animals and humans, took so long to change its laws? Was it because our values and thinking were distorted by colonial Western values? Would somebody like to take this question?
Santusha, I don't know whether I jumped in, but I think it's always.
Please go ahead, Deepani. Thank you. Please. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's all about our priorities. Like in our region, the need is always to survive, to fight this battle of survival in day-to-day life. And if we compare ourselves with for example, the Scandinavian region, like, okay, I would say very settled down society. Yeah, we are like forever under stress and we are fighting for this survival. I think in that process, we just happen to forget the core values of Buddhism. And, he mentioned about going against specicism. I think we just happen to forget that part. That is my reading.
Yes, Deepani, and to just to comment on it further, for example, in a predominantly Buddhist culture where the Buddha really avoided categorizing people as men, women, animals, he generally referred to all of us as sattva. So we are really maybe deviating from some of these values. And also, I think the main ideas that were communicated here today at Humanitas, if I can put some words into these sentiments that I gathered when I spoke to most of the resource people, is that the animals can't give consent to any of it. The animals can't give consent to being a part of a research. Animal doesn't actually give consent to even be our pet. So they cannot talk. And therefore, we have a sort of moral prerogative to be a voice to them, just the way we are a voice to many other components of society that we are becoming a voice for. For example, we are a voice for infants. We do speak for children. We speak for the debilitated. We speak for people who do not have a voice for themselves in the human species. And I think we all should extend that courtesy to the animals too. Udesh, any comments from you before we wrap up?
Thank you, Dr. Santusha, again for having all of us. It was a wonderful conversation, different dimensions to the whole conversation on how we perceive animal welfare. And at the same time, I think I spoke on grief and how grief affected me at a very personal level, and in general, how we rely on animals to better our lives, to better our emotions, to have companions beyond humans. So I think the whole grief story I spoke of also highlighted how very connected we are with the whole animal system, animals, different animals. I saw beautiful pictures of snakes, right? I was just thinking myself, I'm not, although I'm okay with snakes, I'm not, being surprised with their beauty and so on, as I saw in the pictures, So I think all these creatures, dogs, pets, snakes, in some countries you have snakes as pets, right? So all these animals, they bring a lot to us, they bring a lot of emotions, they awaken us, they energize us. I think we have more to explore. And then also on Professor Saroja's question, maybe we had to also reimagine how we see all these systems, the natural biodiversity, how we interact with things, how different characters they bring in. Maybe we had to seriously reconsider, reimagine and reevaluate how we even see different dimensions in a whole decolonial approach, as he suggested.
Yes.
So more to explore. Thank you for having me.
More to explore, for sure. Is Shaveen Madhushaka here in this forum today? Because in my conversations with Shaveen, Is Shami here in this at the Humanitas program today? So one thing he tried to articulate was that one of the, as Deepani also said, that the moment you see a reptile in Sri Lanka, we tend to kill it or to throw kerosene or some kind of a chemical on them. And he was actually, this medical student from our faculty was articulating that, you know, you are more likely to rescue a dog or a cat or a rabbit, which is considered a sort of a cute animal. But we are actually, based on our preconceived notions about reptiles and snakes, and because they are probably in our general way of thinking that they are not such you know, cute or cuddly animals, people feel less sad and less conflicted about harming reptiles. So he actually did express to me in the discussion some very mature and very humane perspectives. These medical students, I felt very blessed to be actually speaking with them in the preparation towards the Humanitas program.